What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the Benders Podcast, the least consistent show on the internet. My name is Brady Denniston. You may know me as the Walrus from that one Geico commercial. I'm being joined by my co-host as usual. We have JV Demon and noted Kodak Black enthusiast Nikki Moses.
Let's go. What's up, boys?
And we have the pride of the North and the human version of Milhouse from The Simpsons, Zach Steinman.
Gentlemen, let's go.
Fellas, welcome back. How are we feeling?
Feeling good. What's it been? A couple years since the last episode?
It's been a hot minute.
It's been a bit, but we're back. We're better than ever. We're locked.
Yeah.
We're all in.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
we
A lot
are.
going on recently, huh?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the elephant in the room, the Four Nations Faceoff, taking the sports world as a whole, not even just hockey, by storm. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, Zach, congratulations on Team Canada winning.
11th province lost, but I mean it's all right. We'll get them next year.
Yeah.
Olympics.
Once we're down to Olympic hockey, we're gonna be just fine.
Oh yeah.
But I think that the Four Nations Face-Off as a whole has brought so much great media attention to hockey. I mean, the physicality and the fighting. I mean, you saw it everywhere. ESPN, House of Highlights, Bleacher Report. They're all posting about it. I mean, some of them are paid too, but people are really starting to notice that hockey is a really popular sport and it's a sport that's bound to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like 6 or 7 different videos on my For You page about like people just getting into hockey, and they're like, man, like this hockey stuff is cool, and like so many different people are seeing it, and I think you're right. The Four Nations Face-Off definitely highlighted it a bunch because, like, I mean, this was truly best on best, and it's the first time we've seen this in so long.
Yeah, you're entirely right.
I'm low-key totally with you on that. Like, I think it was Kai Cenat or I Show Speed, one of the two. They were doing a reaction to, I think it was Canada-US, the first game, with like the first 3 fights in the first 9 seconds.
It's insane.
And like,
noted Montreal Canadiens fan, I Show Speed.
Sure,
Yep.
yeah, but no, you're totally right. Like, people are just like, they're going crazy, just going up on hockey now just because of how big the game has gotten. Again, you mentioned best on best, where we haven't seen this since, I think, 2016 World Cup of Hockey. And
Yeah.
people are now starting to realize that this is a real sport. People pay crazy amounts of money to watch the people play live, and it makes me happy that these guys are getting the recognition.
Speaking of the 2016 World Cup of Hockey, can we talk about how stacked the freaking North American team was? I mean, like, just looking back on that team was
McDavid, Matthews, bunch of
Eichel.
other guys. Eichel, yeah.
Nugent Hopkins. I mean,
wait, hold on.
Can we get the roster pulled up?
Wait, Nikki, who?
Jack fucking Eichel. Hell yeah.
People ask me why I have
me
why I have a Jack Eichel Sabres jersey, and I just say to piss off Nikki Moses. Because that's the most wasted potential I've ever seen in professional sport.
Hey, hold on. You want look at this real quick? Hold on. I don't hate the guy. Look what's hanging in my room, for God's sakes.
Oh man!
Wow, that is actually tough. Hey, I can't hate him. He's a Massachusetts native. I want to say he's from like Chelmsford, maybe. He's a local guy, so respect.
Yep.
What are you trying to screen share, Zach?
This is the Team North America roster.
Oh, yeah, let's take a look.
We need to get that up because that's just. And the jerseys were so sweet too.
Oh, they were beautiful. Okay, so the goalies were John Gibson, Connor Hellebuck, and Matt Murray. All
unreal.
Whoa.
Ekblad, Gostisbehere, Jones, Ryan Murray, Periaco, Morgan Riley, and Jacob Trouba were their defense core, which is still crazy to me. Sean Couturier, Flyers legend, current Flyers.
Yeah.
Jonathan Drouin, Jack Eichel, Johnny Gaudreau, rest in peace to him.
R.I.P.
Just extremely tragic what happened.
Yeah.
Dylan Larkin, Nathan McKinnon, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid.
That's insane.
Unbelievable. JT Miller, Ryan Hopkins, Brendan Saad, Mark Scheifele, and Vincent Trocheck. And their coaching staff was Todd McClellan, John Cooper, and Peter DeBoer. I mean,
That's insane, dude. I mean, the fact that because like that's like a mix of like all of North America. Like there's Canada, there's USA. I mean that those
Are there
guys
any
playing
Mexican
along.
players on those teams?
I don't believe any of them made
I
the cut.
don't think so.
Yeah.
But I mean that was crazy. I remember watching, and it was just like so cool at the time seeing like Eichel, like that was his, after his first year in the NHL or whatever, and like him playing alongside the first overall pick McDavid, like and watching them, and then Matthews that year's upcoming, first overall pick, whatever. Like that was sweet, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, totally off topic, but the Heat were just up by 10 and now they're down by 1.
That's fantastic.
R.I.P. Jimmy Butler. R.I.P. He's a Heat legend.
Nick, are you also a Heat fan?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
You
Come
know what
on,
put me on?
Nicky.
It was the 2023 playoff run. Like I literally started watching from like the first play-ins, and dude, when they like upset the Celtics, whatever, like that was like insane watching that run. I mean, I knew they
Oh,
wouldn't be able to pull it off.
Beautiful.
I knew they wouldn't be able to pull it off because I mean, obviously that Denver team is insane, but when
Tyler
that
Hero
was
just knocked down a 3. Let's go.
as a proud Celtics fan, I can't agree with either of y'all, but respect. I guess Bam Adebayo is cool.
He's a dog.
it's pretty cool.
Anyway, back to the Four Nations face-off. I want to talk about the Kachuk brothers because they were the bona fide leaders of the whole tournament. I mean, Brady really stepped it up as a leader with Team USA, and I mean, Matthew kind of already had that role. But I want to talk specifically about Brady because a lot of the shit he was doing we don't frequently see with him, especially in Ottawa. What do you guys think about Brady Kachuk as a leader?
Zach, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I can take the rock here. So obviously living in Canada, I know a good chunk of people who are Ottawa Senators fans, and the things I hear from Brady Kachuk, he's that type of guy where you just hate him if he's not on your team, but if he's on your team, you just absolutely love him. Because as a Flyers fan, I can compare him to a guy like, I'm not going to say he's the same skill caliber as Travis Konechny, but they're both pests and they both score goals and they're both great on both sides of the puck. Like Brady, I saw some really nice defensive plays from him during that tournament. And he had a crazy game. I think it was against Finland. Yeah, both. I did a project on it. The Kachuk brothers had a combined 4 or 5 points. And I feel like as for Brady and Matthew, it's probably like a dream come true. They're on the same team, representing their country on the biggest stage in best on best hockey. What more could they ask? Maybe to win, but to win it all. But
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think personally, like this is like some like next level like play we're seeing out of them. Like they're definitely changing the game, and especially for new people getting into hockey, like seeing like how these guys aren't afraid to like play the body, put themselves on the line for their team, drop the gloves when they have to, and also have the ability to score and like Zach said, like play good defense as well. Like I mean, they're well-rounded hockey players. Obviously, coming from a hockey family, their dad was with the St. Louis Blues for a while. I mean, I think like as much as like you hate playing against them, like Zach said, you'd love to have them on your team, and I just think they're changing the game of hockey for good.
I totally agree, and I think they might have turned a lot of heads at the tournament, especially just within Team USA. I mean, you had guys from a bunch of the different Canadian teams, especially. You had Connor Hellebuck from the Winnipeg Jets, Austin Matthews, obviously the captain for the Leafs. I mean, they're definitely playing Ottawa a lot, and to see a guy like Brady in a role where he's able to lead like that and be like a class act player in the locker room or just in a team perspective, I think that's going to change a lot of opinions on those two guys.
What do you think in terms of Brady? What do you think he stays a Senator for a while, or like what are we thinking?
I think he's locked and loaded there.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who at school with me. He's a huge Sens fan. Always talking about how much he loves to have Brady Kachuk on his team. He's going to be a Sen forever, he says. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case because he seems to just love Ottawa and
Really?
plays well there.
Yeah, Ottawa's making a push here, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in that wild card race now. It's the East is tight, guys. The East is
It's tight, and
tight.
but it's not tight like they're all good. It's tight like they're all bad. It's just two teams
Yeah,
bad.
It's a mediocrity contest.
it's pretty much
Seriously.
flipped of last year because last year all the teams were really good. It was tight towards the end. It was like a fun.
Yeah.
Now it's like one team's got to win, and it's a matter of who
I
you're playing.
remember last year watching the Detroit game, the last regular season game for them, and they were
Detroit,
like,
Montreal, right?
yeah, it was Detroit, Montreal, and if they won and they needed, I forget who it was, they needed someone to lose to make the playoffs, and
They needed
they got sent to the
Washington.
shootout.
They needed Washington to
It was
lose.
Washington. It was Washington.
And Washington played Philly, and Torts
Yep.
pulled the goalie while we were like tied.
Yeah,
Because he didn't want Washington, or he didn't want Detroit or Pittsburgh to make the playoffs.
dude, I was pulling so hard for Detroit. I was watching. I was like, they tied it up. They took it to, I think it went to a shootout, and they ended up winning. But like, you could tell, like, the guys knew, like, it didn't matter.
They knew by then. It was like.
I mean, that's so unfortunate, though, to get that close, and then
and
it's
also
not even
to
in your
find out
control at that
mid-game as
point.
well is also it's kind of depressing.
So speaking of the Eastern Conference being just a race of mediocrity, I figured we could give a little progress update on our teams. Myself with the Montreal Canadiens, Zach, you with the Flyers, and Nikki, you with the Sabres. Who wants to start?
I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, so the Sabres, where do I even begin? I mean, hey, this past week or so, they've had a nice little push. They were winning games. I think they went on a 4 or 5 game winning streak. They lost the streak to the Hurricanes. The fun fact: Sabres haven't won a regulation game in Carolina in years, like 10 years, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, oh well. But I mean, I think we just need to win like 20 out of our last 25 games, whatever, and I think we're in a playoff spot.
There you go.
Appreciate the optimism.
Oh yeah.
As for the Flyers, I mean, the last time we really had a talk about our teams on the Benders pod must have been 2021, maybe something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And the Flyers have just come off a playoff loss in round 2 to the Islanders, and honestly, it has not been upward trending since there. But ever since they fired their GM Chuck Fletcher and brought in Danny Briere, he's been making
Sabres
some
legend. Sabres
Springfield
legend.
Falcons
legend, Habs legend, Flyers legend. He's been making some moves. I like what he's doing. Obviously, drafting Matvei Michkov was just stellar. Would be an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
I was ecstatic when they drafted him.
Surprised he fell so low. Genuinely.
Yeah, I mean,
what I heard was he had talks with the Flyers and he really liked what they had to offer. So he told other teams he wouldn't go play with them.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, the Flyers just beat the number 1 team in the NHL last night in the Winnipeg Jets.
Nice.
So,
Not too shabby.
You guys know who scored in the shootout for the Flyers.
Yeah, extremely kind of low draft stock for Matvei Michkov, and now, I mean, he's the second best rookie in the NHL behind our boy Lane Hudson. The Habs are finally heading toward the light at the end of the tunnel that was the rebuild. I mean, we've seen great showings from our young guys. I'm thinking Hudson. I mean, Caulfield's still really young. Slavkovsky's still really young. We have a great defensive core right now. I think while Matheson isn't the greatest, I think he proves decent for development of the younger guys as a good, like, veteran leader. Goaltending, I mean, Sam Montembeault is about as good as he can be. Really well-developed guy. I mean, I got to watch his development firsthand because he played for the Springfield Thunderbirds. But, yeah, he's great. And then I really like Jakub Dobesh. I think that he's going to be pretty effective at the NHL level if he keeps up his sort of Cinderella run, if you will. But I think that after this season, if the Habs can get a decent draft pick and bring one other guy into the equation, we still have Jacob Fowler waiting in the wings. We still have David Reinbacher, who's yet to make his NHL debut, I'm pretty sure. Philip Mazar is still available, and I'm honestly blanking on who we drafted last year.
You're missing out on a big name.
Am I an idiot?
Some Russian guy named Ivan Demidov.
Oh my God, Ivan Demidov. How could I forget Ivan Demidov? He'll be in the system hopefully within the coming years, but the Habs have one of the brightest futures in the NHL, and I'm beyond excited to see what they do after this season because this year's, to my knowledge, it's just pretty much a throwaway.
For sure. What about?
I feel like that goes for all of our teams, really.
Pretty much.
But yeah, the Flyers last year we know they had a really good year, kind of like a Cinderella-esque run. And then this year, I don't know, kind of just not as good as last year was. But I'm excited to see Mishkov thrive. And I mean, if the Flyers don't do well, fine. They have 7 picks in the first 2 rounds this year. If Mishkov gets points and succeeds and the Flyers lose, it's not the end of the world. He's going to be stellar. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for their future as well.
What are we thinking about trade deadline, boys? What are we thinking?
Well, as a Flyers fan, there was a picture that Scott Lawton posted on Twitter of him recreating The Last Supper.
Oh boy!
So I think the cat might have been brought out of the bag by the cat himself. That'd be something to look out for. I've heard things that he's going to Toronto. I have a lot of Leaf friends or fans who are Leafs. Whatever, you got the point. Can't talk. But I've heard things that they don't want him. I mean, he's great on the penalty kill. He's a third-line player. He's good at what he does, and he's good at his role. So, also, if we're looking in the Flyers case, we can bring up former Sabre Rasmus Ristolainen, who this year's been on a heater. He's been great for the Flyers this year. But the only problem is the contract that our god-awful former GM Chuck Fletcher signed him to, which was like a 5x5, which, don't get me wrong, I love Risto, but the 5x5 was not the deal that we should have signed him to.
Yeah.
Nikki, are there any guys on the Sabres who you think will be subject to be moved?
I've heard a lot. I've heard stuff about pretty much everyone. I mean, Yoki Haryu's a big one. I've seen a lot of talks about them trying to move him. But, I mean, honestly, in prior years, Sabres really don't do much at the deadline. And when they do, their return is not great. I mean, you know, typically when we do trade players, we get an AHL veteran and a 5th-round pick. So, I mean, like, nothing too impressive over here. I mean, Kevin Adams got to do something big, I think, because we're just been in the same boat for way too long. I mean, people have talked about Dylan Cousins maybe going, Jack Quinn. So, I mean, we have so many young guys, so many guys that would, like, other teams would want. But, I mean, it's just a matter of, like, our return, I think.
Well, yeah, I saw something today, Puck Empire posted that I mean, as a Sabres fan, I wouldn't be thrilled, but I heard there was rumblings of Alex Tuch to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tuch's a great guy, and he loves Buffalo. I mean, he's, you know, like, grew up Syracuse, Sabres fan. But, I mean, I don't know. I'd hate to see him leave. He's a good player. And, you know, so many of those guys are good, and they really want to win in Buffalo. And I couldn't tell you, like, what the one problem is. I mean, you could talk about ownership with the Pagulas. I mean, you could talk about, you know, not trying to make big moves, GM Kevin Adams. But, I mean, I do think that the problem lies within the room. And I think Lindy Ruff is trying to bring out the best in everyone right now. But it's just like, I mean, we've had so many different roster changes. At what point are we going to see a Sabres team that, you know, has some life in them? We see glimpses every now and then, you know, we typically are known for our March, April, you know, last push to try and get in, and we always fall short.
Yeah, I want to say that is it true that the Sabres have the longest playoff drought in hockey right now?
They do.
It's like 2010, I think, was the last time they made the playoffs.
2011 was last year. I mean, think about it like this. I've gone throughout elementary, middle, and high school without seeing this team in the playoffs.
Yikes.
That's sad. I mean, the
Hey,
Habs.
they lose to in 2011, 2012.
I don't even know, bro. Is it the Flyers?
I'm almost sure it is, but don't quote me on that. I just remember us beating the Sabres in a playoff
I
run.
don't know, bro. I mean,
Couldn't tell you then, but
I didn't watch. I was 4 years old, so I don't even bother going back to look because, like,
here's your Miami Heat update. Overtime is hit, and the Heat are up 109-107. Bam Adebayo has 30 points.
Go
30.
New York, go New York, go.
Damn.
Yeah, Habs are usually relatively quiet at the deadline. If I had to make my case for who should go, I think that the Habs should personally, I think the Habs should deal David Savard.
I was just gonna say that as well.
David Savard, I mean, he's a decent enough defenseman. You could argue that he's veteran leadership, but again, that's what you have Mike Matheson for. He's a -7 on the year, only 12 points in 54 games, so the offensive upside's not there. He's only 34, so he still has a little bit of gas left in the tank. I feel like we could at least get a late round draft pick for him, or maybe an AHL guy that could make the call to the NHL. But again, Habs are usually relatively quiet, and knowing Kent Hughes, he'll do Kent Hughes things. Anyway, as I pull up Puck Empire on my phone, the Rangers sat Riley Smith tonight, so more than likely a Riley Smith move coming in the next couple days, if not hours. I mean, they sat a couple guys last night, and they already made that trade. Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey to the Avalanche for a group that included Juuso Parssinen, Calvin DeHaan, and a couple of draft picks. The Rangers have been making quite the splash, and I totally understand why with how dismal they've been.
They've been a mess. I mean, the Sabres absolutely dismantled them about a week or two ago, which is, something you don't really see often. I think that they put up 5 goals in the first period. I mean, that's unacceptable, especially like, the Rangers have been like so close in these past few years, and like now it's like, you think like they're finally gonna get one soon, but I mean, I don't know. What do you even do if you're the Rangers? I don't even know.
Personally, go ahead, Zach.
I was going to say, I feel like we can't really just talk about the trade deadline without mentioning yesterday's trade with Florida dealing Spencer Knight, and I think it was a first-round pick.
Wow, yeah.
To Chicago in exchange for Seth Jones.
Seth Jones, man, put that guy in a retirement home.
I was going to say, I don't see the upside for Seth Jones.
We were also talking about the whole Kachuk thing. He was placed on LTIR, so there could be a
long term too.
Yeah. So who knows if he's back for the playoffs or not.
Fingers crossed if you're a Panthers fan or just an American fan who wants to root for him in the playoffs. I want to go back to that Rangers issue because I know they've been having a little bit of issue with Igor Shesterkin this year. I want to say he was injured for a decent amount of time. The Rangers, and I have a good view of the AHL because, again, I watch so much AHL. The Rangers don't know how to handle their goaltending prospects. Their AHL tandem is Louis Domingue, obviously veteran guy, left-handed goaltender, so he's catching with his right hand. And then Dylan Garand, who is one of the better young goaltenders in any organization. He was an AHL All-Star this year. Absolutely fantastic work in AHL with the Hartford Wolfpack. There is no reason that he shouldn't be in the NHL, especially with issues with guys like Shesterkin and Quick. And I wish we could see more of him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, again, from Canada. I remember in prior years, Dylan Garand at the World Juniors was just something special to watch for Team Canada. He came in, night out, and he was lights out. He was the guy that we all thought. I mean, looking back at World Juniors way prior years, I'm talking like 2014, maybe 2015, 2016, Zach Fucale, who was a goalie on Team Canada, and he had the tournament of like maybe his life. And again, nothing really came out of it for him. I think he didn't really play many NHL games, if not even 10. But
I was going to say Fucale, another AHL graduate, spent a lot of time with the Hershey Bears, had a bit of a cup of coffee in the NHL with the Washington Capitals. I want to say he's in the K now. So
it's very possible. And I mean, that's what we see from the juniors. Some players have the best tournaments of their life. Their hype and their stock goes up, and then it just falls off a cliff.
And then you've got your Connor Bedards.
Exactly. Yep. You just know.
Going back to the talk about goalies, we saw a goalie goal yesterday. How about that? A little weird though. Wasn't a shot, but hey, he got the goal.
A goalie goal is a goalie goal.
A goalie goal is a goalie goal. Respect to Ilya Sorokin for that one. I'm actually going to see the Islanders at the end of the month, so mad respect.
Fun.
Anyway, why don't we talk about the other sports that are happening right now? Obviously, the football season just wrapped up. Congratulations to all the Eagles fans on a great Super Bowl and an L for all the Swifties out there. I mean, we've already been mentioning basketball. Let's talk basketball.
Let's do it.
Where the hell did the Cavaliers come from? I mean,
yeah, I mean they just had
Seriously.
such a underrated year last year per se. Got injured in the playoffs. The Celtics had their fraudulent ways and kind of beat them in a few
Don't wanna
games.
hear it.
They had no one playing for them.
don't want to hear it.
But
Don't wanna
this
hear
year, the Cavs have come out of a cannon, and they're my prediction from the start of the year was Cavs Thunder finals. So
That would
Yeah.
be fun. That would put
I
butts in seats. That would be great for
would
reviews.
very much
That'd
like
be
it.
sick.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that Thunder
as we
team,
talk,
they're
the Heat are blowing
good.
their lead again. So
Damn.
Fun.
something I'm used to.
Yep.
August.
So who are we pulling for this year? Brady, who do you want? I mean, I know you're a Celtics fan, but realistically, what do you think?
Obviously, I'm going to root for the Celtics, but I think that Cavaliers and Thunder is the way to go. I mean, I've always liked Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. From the Cavs side of things, they're a fun team to watch. I've been a Max Strus guy since years ago, so respect to that guy.
Legend.
Yeah, that's when I really started to like him. He was the only guy I liked on the Heat. But now he's out of that system, and he's seemed to be balling out in Cleveland. So hopefully they can do it. It'd be a lot for them to prove that they can win something without LeBron. And personally, don't take offense to this. As long as the Heat don't come out of the East, I won't really have a complaint about the NBA playoffs.
I really feel like you won't have much to worry about. I mean, the Heat are just in such mediocrity right now, just because they don't know where they're standing. Like, honestly, it's kind of hard to take in because I mean I'm looking at the game, looking on Reel right now. As I say that, Tyler Hero misses a three. But let's talk about Tyler Hero for a second because he's having the
guy from the Jack Harlow song. Yeah,
exactly. He's having a real good year that he pretty much just lost. But yeah, he won the 3-point competition. He's averaging 24 a game. And again, now he and Bam Adebayo are kind of the leaders of this team now that Jimmy Butler is out the window.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Jimmy Butler. What was going on with him? He was pulling some Stephon Diggs diva moves right out of his bag. I mean, seriously, like he was all this crap that came out about him. I mean, obviously we don't know the full story because we're just fans. Like players have whatever going on in their own lives, but from what we saw, at least, I mean, it did not look good for Jimmy. And I'm a Jimmy Butler fan, and I'm a big fan of his game, and seeing stuff like that, it does make you question what's going on, because I'm always gonna stick with him to watch at least, because he is such a good player, and I really think he has the ability to change a team. So I really think Golden State is gonna make a push here and have a solid run for the last time with the Curry era. But
yeah. The thing with Jimmy Butler, I mean, he's always been a character. We see him going to training and media day. I mean, he was emo girl this year, but
last year.
Sorry, I'm not a Heat fan.
I remember he came in this year meaning business, and
that I think that might have been his issue.
That was his run through. I mean,
this is the first time we've really seen that character mentality outside of media day, really, because I mean, he's a great player. And we've definitely seen him do some things like this before, but this is the first time that it's really come to a head. And I mean, he's in Golden State now. I'm sure he's happy playing alongside guys like Steph Curry and I guess Draymond Green. But,
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's just trying to get a ring, man. And, is Golden State the place? I don't know. I mean, that would be cool to see Curry get another one and, Jimmy Butler finally get a ring, but like
I
this stuff
can't.
we've seen it time and time again where stars team up trying to get a ring. Obviously, Brooklyn Nets with KD, and then James Harden and Irving. But I mean, I don't know, like that stuff like that doesn't always work.
Yeah, I can't let the last ring for Steph be against the Celtics. I just can't let that happen. By the way, we have 5 viewers right now, so to everybody viewing this live recording of the Vendors podcast, thank you guys so much, and be sure to
Thank
watch
you.
the edited version. It should be up probably by Friday. Anyway, basketball's basketball. I didn't really get to talk about the Celtics, but we're gonna go to the Eastern Conference Finals. We're gonna lose. It's gonna be fine. Let's talk baseball because we're right on the cusp of baseball season. Spring training has been something for the Red Sox. We started really low, and now that we're starting our better guys in the lineup, I mean, this Red Sox team looks like so much fun. I'm really excited to see how Garrett Crochet and Walker Buehler can fit into the Red Sox rotation. Walker Buehler had a great showing today. This looks like it could be the bounce back season for Masataka Yoshida, which I've been a Masa hater for a bit. So hopefully I get proven wrong there. And then this is the year for our prospects. We've got 3 of the top prospects in baseball with Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Christian Campbell. But that's it about my team. How are we feeling about the Blue Jays and the Yankees?
Well, at least for the Yankees, I mean, coming so close last year, haven't won a chip since '09. I mean, I really thought last year would be the year, but I mean, clearly the filthy rich Dodgers pull it off with their insane roster. I mean, props to them. So many good guys on that team. But I mean, and then off season, Juan Soto kind of like rebelling against the Yankees. Wasn't really a fan of that. I mean, I guess he didn't like not being the only star on the team. I mean, you have Judge and Stanton and a lot of big hitters, big names on the team. But I mean, I haven't really looked at any of the spring training games. I know that like there's high hopes for this season, but I mean, there's 162 games, right? So I mean, just gotta figure it out and see what happens. I mean, I hope they win it, but I mean, I don't know.
For me, the biggest question mark surrounding the Yankees this year is how is Aaron Judge going to look with a beard? That's going to be disgusting to look at.
And a baby, because I'm pretty sure they just announced having a kid. So
Oh, good for them.
yeah.
I can't like the Yankees because I'm a Red Sox fan, but I've got a lot of respect for Aaron Judge. So
Yeah, and about the beard thing too, man. I don't agree with it. I think, the Yankees have been,
Yankees just like to be different.
well, I mean, they're built up with a rich history. They got, all their traditions and whatever, but I guess like with everything, change is inevitable. So, I mean, those rules are going to start being formed a little differently because I mean, a lot of people do disagree with it, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it works.
Steinbrenner with his fine cigars and scotch. All right, Zach, let's talk the Toronto Anthony Santanders.
Yes. Major signing. I love that Anthony Santander is a Blue Jay because he's just killed us for years on end now. But yeah, that's big for us. An outfield spot that he'll play. He'll play DH, a big switch hitting bat in the lineup, which I love. But my deepest concern is Vladdy not extending because by the looks of it, he's not a Blue Jay by the end of this season. Like once the season comes to an end, he'll sign some huge deal somewhere else, and I really want him to stay. Like I really do want him to sign a contract in the offseason, but he made himself a date. He said, if I'm not extended by this date before pre-workouts, I'm not going to be a Blue Jay, whatever. And it's tough because, I mean, he's kind of running down the same road Shohei Ohtani rode down with the Angels, where they offered an extension. He's an international signing when they started. Yeah, I mean, now look where Shohei is.
Yeah, I mean, what do we think too about the MLB and these teams that have so much money, like obviously no salary cap, so they throw around money to these players, and it's just almost becoming a pay-to-win type league. What do you think about that?
I think the MLB is just doing their best EA Sports impression.
Yeah, I agree with Zach, but also, I mean, it's getting media attention on baseball, and baseball's really been falling by the wayside recently because, people are saying that it's boring to watch. The pitch clock certainly helped, but it hasn't done enough to viewership. I think that having these super teams, having a team where you can see Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman in the same inning, that's an incredible thing for viewership. I mean, obviously, it's not good for the other teams in Major League Baseball. I can't really talk because the Red Sox really started to open their wallets this year. But just in general, I think it's good to have people watching the games.
For sure.
And
No,
Zach, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I'm totally down with you on that. I mean, there's also the introduction to the ABS system that took off spring training for the automated balls and strikes, where all players have to do is tap their head like this, just to signify to the umpire, I want this to be challenged. Show me the strike zone. I want to see if it's a strike or a ball, which there's always been a debate for a long time. Like, oh my God, I wish I could challenge this strike. I wish I could challenge this ball, so on and so forth. And I mean, the technology now in baseball and sports in general is just so improved that I feel like we're lucky to have it nowadays, because if you go back to like one of the most famous moments in baseball, the 28 out perfect game for Armando Galarraga, who essentially should have had a perfect game, and with umpire Ben Joyce kind of sold him there. They didn't have a challenge system there, and if they did, that would have been a perfect game.
Entirely, yeah. Zach, I did want to go back to what you were saying about Vladdy Guerrero Jr. not re-signing with the Blue Jays. As a Red Sox fan, in a very similar boat, because to my knowledge, Jaron Duran is on an arbitration deal. JD's been one of the most electric players in baseball this past season, All-Star Game MVP. He's got a lot of swagger, very, very controversial to a degree. He's got the whole mental health campaign with the FM t-shirt. JD's a great guy, and I really hope that the Red Sox can keep him around. But now that Craig Breslow and the front office have spent all this money on guys like Walker Buehler, Garrett Crochet, and obviously Alex Bregman, it's really concerning because I'd love to keep Jaron around. I mean, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure he was a homegrown prospect. He's the kind of guy who the Red Sox want to keep around for a long time, and he's like that face of the franchise guy. I worry that we paid the wrong guy by paying Rafael Devers.
No, I'm totally with you on that. I mean, realistically, he's a great player. Everyone, I mean, he can hit, he can run, he can field, except for when he's playing the Blue Jays, because then the ball goes over his head. But
that was like 2022, dude. I don't want to hear
it. Still happened. But again, you also have people that don't really like him just for obvious reasons. But if I were a Red Sox fan, I'd love him. I mean, he's the type of guy that, I mean, he's killed the Jays year in, year out. I mean, I feel like he does it to a lot of teams. He's a power left-handed bat. So, yeah, you kind of really said it all. He's the type of guy you'd like in your team, just like Brady Tkachuk. He has that kind of mental ability to just dial in and play the game for the sake of the game.
I will say, did get to go to one of the JD suspension games this summer. Walk-off win off Rob Refsnyder in the 10th against the Texas Rangers. Great game. One of my favorite games I've ever spent at Fenway. So thank you, JD, for not playing so that we could have that. But still. What else do we have to say about baseball? Because I think this is going to be a great baseball season. And personally, I'm really excited to see who comes out of where. I mean, it's pretty obvious who's going to come out of the National League. But as for, I think specifically the AL East, all three of our teams, well, Zach, I mean, kind of the Blue Jays. But
come on, you can't be dude. Come on, it's kind of the Red Sox too. You guys are in the same boat.
I feel like the Red Sox are in a better boat than the Jays, because the Jays, for
Clearly,
like the second consecutive year, have missed out on the number one big signing. They missed out on Ohtani. Now they missed out on Soto.
Mm-hmm.
nothing's really going right, and I feel like it's been long overdue for the Jays to give Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro the can. But they just haven't done it yet, and I'm not sure what it's going to take for them to do that, because they've now missed out on Ohtani, Soto, Corbin Burns. They didn't extend Vladdy. So, like,
I mean, and they've been favorites in most of these.
They have. That's the problem.
Signings
They've been
too.
favorites, and they just never do anything with it. So, I mean, also, hell, you can count Pete Alonso in there as well. He had chances to be a J, and here we are.
Hey, if there's one thing the three of us as baseball fans can bond over, it's that we were all involved with the Soto deals this offseason, and just none of it came to fruition.
Well, some of us more favorites than others, but again.
Yeah. Nikki, what I really wanted to... go ahead.
Hey, no, you go.
What I really wanted to touch on was that, I mean, obviously the Yankees lost Soto, but they've done a lot of things to bolster their roster for the coming season. They got Cody Bellinger, they got Max Fried, and so have the Red Sox with Buehler, Crochet, and Bregman. I think that the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry is going to be one of the better seasons for that rivalry.
For sure. And, those games are always fun to watch. Games with a lot of history involved, like, those are the best games, and especially, like, touching back on, like, MLB viewership. Like, if you could get a good rivalry going, people will want to tune into those games. And I think, the Yankees are known for, like, signing big-name players, a little after their prime. So, I mean, like, we'll see what happens. It's just a matter of, like, who works well with who. I mean, typically, we end up doing all right, but we just gotta watch and see.
I totally agree. I think that the AL East is going to be an absolute dogfight this year, and the Red Sox and the Yankees are going to be neck and neck for that first spot. Can't count out the Orioles, but let's be real, it's always been the Red Sox and Yankees.
Yeah, that's Jason.
Yeah. Hey, who knows? Maybe all three of us could meet at a game this year. Who knows?
That could be
it's possible.
Yeah.
It's always a chance.
Betters podcast in person. Zach and I got to hang out at a Blue Jays game a couple summers back.
Great time.
Yeah, it was a great game.
It was a great game.
Blue Jays had a solid win over the Diamondbacks to win the series. Yeah. Kevin Kiermaier legacy game. If you know, you know.
You know.
We miss Kevin Kiermaier. But I was actually Nikki, we were supposed to meet up after that trip and it just fell through.
We were.
That's my fault, bro.
Hey, I mean, it's all right. I mean, now, the good thing is we are older now, so it's a lot more room for opportunity to be able to see each other. I mean, it's crazy though. That has been 4 or 5 years since, we've gotten introduced to each other. It's insane, man.
Entirely. So, we got anything else we want to touch on?
Nothing off the top of my head.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think the biggest thing right now is just waiting to see how the East ends up, like, in terms of for the NHL. Like, I think definitely, like, it's going to be crazy to see. I mean, like, so many teams that, like, you're not used to seeing in playoff contention, like Columbus and Ottawa, Detroit. Like, all these teams are coming out, and, like, teams like Boston, Pittsburgh are, recessing. I mean, like, it's definitely cool to see.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, the East feels like a toss-up every year with the wild card spots, because obviously – in the Atlantic, you always have Toronto, Florida.
Yeah. Tampa
Boston.
Always squeezes in.
But even this year, Boston's been kind of
Boston's definitely been on the downtrend.
They have been, yeah. And I mean, out of the Metropolitan, it's always Carolina, usually the Rangers. This year, surprisingly, the Capitals have been up and on the trend. They've been great this year.
Yeah, how about that? Ovi,
that's not what you talk about. Ovi goal records.
When do we think he's gonna do it? I mean,
as a Flyers fan,
I think
he's doing it against the Flyers. It just makes too much sense for him not to. Let's see. Washington plays Ottawa tomorrow night.
Hey, he'll get 10 tomorrow.
Their
11
last
tomorrow.
game of the season is against Pittsburgh, and
Which that would just be cinematic.
I think it would be poetic if he did it against
Yeah.
Crosby.
What do you guys like? What do you think like they're even gonna do? Like when he scores
Crawford
that
Calder,
goal,
that's
like
right.
what's gonna happen?
We got a comment from YouTube saying,
Like what's gonna even happen? He scores that goal, like at like the whole hockey world, like everyone's like automatically like the focus is gonna be on him. Like like the game's gonna stop, I assume, right? Like it's just there's no way they just go on, right? Like they're gonna pause,
oh,
like
they'll
do a
give him
little
a
like
whole entire round of applause, so on and so forth.
yeah. I mean that's gonna be
If it's an away
insane.
game for Washington, they'll probably do something more advanced when they get back to
Oh
Washington.
yeah, for sure.
If they're on home ice, they'll probably just do it either post game or during a PTO. They'll definitely do something right there.
Well,
It's just
today's March 2nd. 18 days from now, the Flyers are in Washington. And just as a Flyers fan, knowing how it works out for us all the time, it seems like he could do it then. I mean, what, he's only 11 goals away?
he could do it for sure. If he keeps up
Yeah.
on this pace, I mean, just the other day he had a hat trick against,
Yeah.
I want to say, Edmonton.
You're right.
Ovechkin's been on a crazy tear with an absurd pace. He could do it just about whenever.
I mean, his longevity is just insane. Like him, LeBron, like all these athletes that we get the privilege of watching for these last couple of years. I mean, it's gonna be sad when you see those
Yeah,
This
I
guys
has
mean,
go.
really been a great generation for sports for us.
Oh, the era was beautiful. I mean, if let's take a look at each sport here. Let's start with baseball. You've got your Clayton Kershaws, your Verlanders, your Scherzers.
You got the Dominican greats. You've got Pujols and Ortiz. You got
Miguel
the other
Cabrera, you can throw in there too.
Cabrera as well. You got the other players from the Cardinals. You've got Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright.
Oh yeah.
Baseball has been so fun to watch.
Oh,
As a Red
100,
Sox fan, we got to see
100%.
Dustin Pedroia, Mookie Betts. The Yankees have gotten to see Jeter, A-Rod, Judge. The Blue Jays, you guys have gotten to see Bautista, Vladdy Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, I mean, we've also like throw it back to 2015-16 where our team was just like the greatest to watch. I mean, even I'd say since their 93 World Series, Batista, Edwin, Donaldson, the pitching was beautiful. Stroman, Sanchez, I mean, Estrada, they were all just great. And I mean, that's the generation of baseball that our childhood lived through. And I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better generation of baseball to live through was growing up.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to beat this for sure. I mean, like there's obviously a lot of young talent, and every sport's getting more competitive. But like these guys truly changed the game. I mean, even like soccer, like we don't talk that much, but you know, Messi, Ronaldo, like those guys,
Kylian
Neymar, like
Mbappe even.
that's
Yeah.
like yeah, all these guys that like you know are so famous for what they do, but like it's going to be interesting to see how like the next generation like who's going to be like their guys like that, you know.
Yeah. I want to bring it over to football. I'll get it out of the way as the Patriots fan in the room. You've got your Brady, you've got your Gronk. But, I mean, also, you've got Patrick. We're witnessing Patrick Mahomes make a campaign to. He's not going to get there, but he's making his campaign to be the GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard multiple things saying, "Oh, Mahomes is better than Brady." This, that, this, that. I mean, he's
No,
not.
he's
Obviously,
not.
I mean, as a Seahawks fan,
not.
I hate to admit that, and I mean, of course, Nikki is a Bills fan. Also, hate to admit that. But if you're talking logistics, what do you guys? Where would you guys classify Mahomes if you won this Super Bowl against the Eagles? Like, where would you put him on your
Well,
top three.
rating?
Easily
of
top three.
all time.
yeah, well, listen. So, I mean, being a Bills fan, like obviously we have reasons to hate both Mahomes
Exactly.
and Brady. But I mean, listen, Brady would, you know, tear up the Bills every year and tear up the league every year, but he's just had that, you know, winning drive. I mean, his 7 rings speak for themselves. Like, you know, as much as Mahomes is a great player, you can't put him out there until, you know, he at least gets 2 more, I'd say. I mean, and you know, like I think Mahomes is great, but I also do think like I think that like the gap between him and Allen, and even like you know Burrow and Lamar, like I think it's a lot like smaller than people think. I mean, I just think those championships obviously, help his case a lot more. But talent-wise, I think, we have 4, 5 great quarterbacks right now that all are like, gonna be up there when their careers are
Drake
over.
May. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think Mahomes also gets a lot of help from the team around him. I mean, he has Travis Kelce, easily the best tight end in the league right now. He has DeAndre Hopkins he can throw to, Isaiah Pacheco to go up the middle. He's got a great team around him. A lot of guys that we talk about don't have that type of great team, like no offense, but Josh Allen. I mean Lamar Jackson.
I mean, we got James Cook. Our receivers, like, it's a bunch of people that just like work hard. They're not necessarily like top name players, but they all get the job done. And I think if you have the ability to like bring out the best in other players, like how Josh Allen does, like that's why like his MVP was so deserved, and I'm so glad he won
I
it.
do want to just briefly go back to what Zach was saying about where Mahomes ranks all time. Personally, my top 5 for quarterbacks right now, Brady at 1. Then I think you go Joe Montana. Then, honestly, I think it's a toss-up between these 3 guys being Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes. I think he's entered the conversation.
I think that's reasonable. I'd go the same way.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd go Brady, Montana, Marino, Manning, then Mahomes, just because we've seen so much of those guys, their highlights, and how they've played. And I feel like when it's all said and done, that list would easily be interchangeable.
I entirely agree.
For sure. For sure. I'd probably say the same thing. I'd switch Marino and Manning, and that's about it.
Do we want to go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if we wanted to move on to the greats of basketball.
I was going to say we can look at that as well. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
There's always going to be the toss-up of LeBron and MJ. Personally,
let's discuss that real quick.
I'm still the MJ train. Yeah,
You're MJ?
I'm MJ.
I'm also MJ.
Yeah, I mean,
LeBron
is crazy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. Whenever you're playing LeBron, he could be in his prime. He could be 45 years old for all we care, and he's still gonna like play you like a two-headed snake. He'll come at you from like wherever and find a way just to dominate in every possible way.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I would even say the fact that it's interchangeable between LeBron and MJ, like it's hella close, but I don't have an exact full reason. But I think MJ is just
The way I see it, MJ has the influence. MJ created the dunk style, and LeBron just built upon it. That's not to discredit LeBron. I mean, he's obviously highest point scorer in NBA history, but he's built upon the game that MJ forged, and everybody tried to copy. That's why we see greats like Kobe Bryant and again LeBron. So I think that just due to MJ's sheer influence, I mean, the Jordan brand has transcended the sport of basketball. That's why MJ's better.
Well, for the longest time, like I agreed. I always would say, Jordan over LeBron. But like for the last couple of years, just seeing how this man can like do the things he does at, he's 40 years old. I mean, I think the longevity speaks for itself. But not only that, but his ability to win with 3 different teams. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And I agree with you. I think that Jordan revolutionized like the game of basketball. But I think it's more fair to say that Jordan had a bigger impact, but I think LeBron was I think he was a better player, is a better player. But I mean, I also agree with Zach. Like it could go either way, like because there's so many different like stats that you could pull up that favors one over the other. But I mean, I think it's just a matter of opinion, and I think we have to, same with like Messi and Ronaldo. You just got to respect both greats.
I entirely agree. And I think that debate also plays into hockey between Crosby and Ovechkin, because Crosby, one of the greater playmakers of all time, but Ovechkin, arguably the greatest goal scorer of all time. They both have their highlights. It's subjective, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think when Ovechkin passes Gretzky, it's definitely going to be a lot different of an argument because he's gonna have that title. But on Ovechkin and Crosby personally, I think they both played throughout the same era, drafted a year apart or whatever. But I mean, I think that I would take Crosby, but just because he's a more well-rounded player in my opinion. But it's so cool watching both those guys play. I've had an opportunity to see both of them play in real life, and it's they're so good.
No, that's definitely, yeah, it's pretty much took it out of my mouth. I mean, the words came out of my mouth. You got the point. Totally makes sense. And I feel like the one sport we've talked about our hockey greats. I mean, Crosby, Ovechkin, so on and so forth. I mean, you've got other guys in the league who are like their time's coming closer to an end. You've got your Drew Doughties. I'm definitely blanking on some names here.
No, there's a bunch of people that they're down to their last few years, and it's gonna be sad to see. Especially
I mean,
for
hey,
us.
look at Jonathan Quick. He's still kicking the can around in New York. So
Yeah, that's insane. I'm glad he got a. Yeah, I'm glad he's there, but I don't know.
But yeah,
Hey, that's UMass legend Jonathan Quick.
there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's all I really had on the head today.
Yep.
Yeah, I entirely agree. Gentlemen, just some final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up here.
Yeah. You want to start?
Anybody got anything to say? I'm gonna wait for y'all to make your points.
Nothing
I mean,
off the top of the dome.
on sports, I don't know. I think these next few months between all the different sports is going to be interesting, and I think definitely we're going to have to start making a lot more episodes because there's going to be a lot to cover. Summer coming up, baseball, basketball, end of hockey season. I don't know, a lot of good stuff coming up.
I think we can leave it at this. We'll all give our predictions for the finals coming up. Out of each division, the winner, and then the MVP of the finals. If that sounds good with you guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I'll kick it off. We'll do. Let's do NHL. Out of the East, I think this is the year that Carolina does make it out of the East.
Ooh.
It's a very hot take. I know I didn't say the conference finals, but I think it'd be a Carolina-Florida conference finals. Carolina coming out of that, and then from the West, I feel like Carolina-Dallas.
I was thinking that same thing.
I like that. Like Carolina-Dallas would be sick, and then I would have Dallas winning the cup, and trying to think of who would have as Conn Smythe. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a guy like Jake Ottinger.
Yeah. I mean, both those teams have came so close in the past few years. It would be cool to see those teams face off. I mean, personally, I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to go against Winnipeg. They've been playing so good. Hellebuck's out of this world, and they I know disappointing end of the season last year, but I think I have them coming out of the West.
All right.
And then for the East, I mean, it's close. I mean, I don't know. I don't think the Capitals could do it. I know they have the 1 seed right now, but I personally don't think that they could maintain it throughout the playoffs. I mean,
Toronto comes out of the East?
No.
yeah, as much as I'd like to say that, I mean,
It's
they're
not
Toronto.
happening, guys.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to agree with Zach here. I think Carolina could do it this year. I think they could make it, and then I'd have
Carolina, Winnipeg.
let's get a Canada Cup here. I'm saying Winnipeg wins it. Give me Hellebuck MVP.
All right, I like that.
Personally, I entirely agree with Zach. I don't think that the Jets have enough in the tank to come out of the West. I think that Dallas has what it takes. And Carolina coming out of the East, I mean, it's only a matter of time. But personally, in a 7-game series, I think that the energy in Carolina is just too palpable. I have friends that are Hurricanes fans, and they tell me, I mean, it's got to be so much better than it looks. Personally, give me the Hurricanes in 6 or 7 games. They're going to make it a long one. And honestly, give me Pyotr Kochetkov with the Conn Smythe.
Wow.
Young goalie, a lot of promise, a lot of upside, fun guy when he's healthy. I'd like to see it. If not him, maybe like a Seth Jarvis.
That's sick. All right. Let's kick it with the season that's coming up. Let's go with the MLB. Nikki, let's start with you.
All right. Well, I mean, I think I'd be stupid to not say the Dodgers coming out of, National League. They're going to be just as good, if not better, as they were last year. And then, the East, and, I don't know, American League. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to say Yankees Dodgers rematch, but is that actually going to happen? I don't know. Give me. Oh man, I don't even know. I don't want to say it. I don't know. I don't know. Let's go with Cleveland.
I like that pick.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not bad. And then World Series MVP. I feel like this should be a toss-up.
Gonna give it to Ohtani.
Yeah, it's a toss-up because the Dodgers are just so overpowered. Brady.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't say the Dodgers were going to come out of the National League.
I feel like
I think
anonymous.
there are certain teams that could make a case, like, if all goes right for the Diamondbacks or the Atlanta Braves make a splash, there's always going to be dominant teams in the National League that aren't the Dodgers. But again, it's just a matter of, do you catch the Dodgers on a good day? The rotation is pretty much unstoppable. They've got 6 of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Roki Sasaki doesn't look amazing, I'll tell you that much. But it's the easiest thing to say. The Dodgers are going to come out of the National League. American League, I think the Cleveland is a great pick. I'd be way too biased if I said the Boston Red Sox. At this point, I honestly think it comes down to either the Yankees or whoever comes out of the Central and the West. I don't think the AL East is the Yankees division. I'll give them the credit. But honestly, I think that the Texas Rangers have a case. I think that they've done enough recently. I mean, they won in 2023. I think that they have a team that could go all the way. It's just a matter of how are they going to compete in October. And Dodgers are winning the World Series. I won't say anything other than that. And for the World Series MVP, honestly, I want to see a pitcher take it. So give me Tyler Glasnow. I think he's got it in him.
Yeah, I mean, again, we all said it. I got the Dodgers coming out of the National League. A very dark horse pick here. And they had a great run last year. I have the Kansas City Royals coming out of the that team. They remind me of the 2019 Nationals, where you just couldn't hate anyone on their team.
Little Vinny Pasquantino, actually.
That's what I'm saying. Look at Bobby Witt. Like, that guy's a monster.
That's like Captain America right there.
Exactly. Bobby Witt Jr., I feel like. And then you also have Salvador Perez with your veteran presence, Cole Reagans. I mean, I'm in on their train. I could see a Royals Dodgers World Series, but again, ultimately I have the Dodgers repeating, and then I feel like it'd be cool to see Mookie Betts win World Series MVP this year if he has a really cool run this year. I mean, we see he's going. I think is he going back to right field, or is he staying put at shortstop?
Beats me.
Either way, 5-tool player Mookie Betts. We all know that. Let's kick it to the NBA. I mean, I gave my prediction on Cleveland and OKC, and I'd give my MVP to hometown guy from me here in Canada. I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he is a rocket. Like, that guy knows how to play basketball the right way, and he's young. He's very likable, great on both sides of the ball, can shoot, can dunk, can finish, can pass. I don't see what there is to hate about SGA.
Yeah, I agree. I'd definitely say that. I, honestly, dude, I have the same matchup, and I think Shea for MVP as well.
I entirely agree. You were calling Shea a rocket. Uh, rocket, socket, tick tock it. Lakers in 5. Anyway, nah. Yeah, give me Shea winning MVP. I
Oh,
can see that entirely.
although I'd love to see either LeBron or Curry get one more. I'll just say that. I would love to see Jimmy and Steph win.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I'll
is it
be
going to
rooting for
happen?
Golden State for Jimmy's sake. He deserves a ring. Um, yeah, that was a pretty quick one. I mean, I guess we can leave the Super Bowl for last because it just happened. But this
Hmm.
year, like I feel like the Chiefs don't go this year. The,
No, I don't
Yes.
think so either.
the previous, like this past year, I'm like, yeah, the Chiefs. I feel like they'll end up going to the Super Bowl. Don't know if they'll win it, but this coming year, I just don't see it. I mean, the AFC's just been so crazy, and I'd like to see Bills and Ravens AFC Championship just because we haven't seen that yet, where the Chiefs aren't the team that just goes out there and plays their game and wins. So again, we weren't talking about championship like rounds. Again, Bills Ravens, I'd like to see. I feel like again, you can't bet on against Josh Allen, but you also can't bet against Lamar Jackson. I have the Ravens going to the bowl this year, and out of the NFC, I mean, it's kind of hard to. I mean, the Eagles just won, but their roster is so talented. Like
Yeah.
on both sides of the ball, you saw what their defense did to Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He looked like he had no clue what he was doing. So, with that being said, I got Ravens and Eagles, and I have an Eagles repeat, which is a take. But I mean, I go with the Eagles, and not far off from them, the Washington Commanders had a unbelievable run, and they just traded for Debo Samuel,
Mm,
and they give up a fifth for him.
yeah.
And as a Seahawks fan who tracks around the NFC West or whatever, he's a baller. He can play, he can run, he can do it all, and he even has those trick plays stuck in his pocket. He can come in a running back or whatever. And he had a down year last year, but the fact that Washington gave up only a fifth for Debo Samuel, who we've seen had crazy potential, Washington's going to be a close one. And again, Jared Goff and the Lions. So those would be the top three. If I'm giving my top three, Lions, Eagles, and Commanders out of the NFC and AFC, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills. But ultimately, again, Eagles, Ravens, Super Bowl. And I feel like if the Eagles go back to the bowl this year, Saquon will have a better performance than he did this past year. So give me Saquon for MVP.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, but I just want to remind you that Josh Allen and the Bills are 2-0 versus Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in the playoffs. So, yeah,
Is this the
I
year
think,
of the Bills?
bro, this is the year of the Bills. We're so due. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what else we do in this offseason. We just re-signed Shakir. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think in the NFC, I think, like you said, the Eagles were just amazing this past Super Bowl. I mean, both sides of the ball, like you said, they blew out the Chiefs. But I mean, Commanders, yeah, they're good too. But honestly, dude, I would love to see Bills Lions. Dan Campbell and the Lions, such a great team. Like, a lot of guys on that team that just want to win so bad. Same with the Bills. I think that would be my dream matchup, and I also think it's realistic too. So I'd say that and give me Josh Allen Super Bowl MVP.
I like it.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
you guys said literally everything that I've been thinking, so I'm just gonna give my wild prediction and say it's gonna be Patriots Saints and Ramondre Stevenson's gonna win Super Bowl MVP. No, yeah, again, I think it comes down to Eagles, Commanders, Lions out of the NFC. I think this is the year that the Lions break the ceiling and work their way into the Super Bowl. It's going to be so much fun to see Dan Campbell's coaching in the Super Bowl. I'm
Oh, 100%.
beyond
I
excited for
mean,
that.
yeah, I mean, also look at like Amon St. Brown. That guy's a demon.
Yeah.
That guy, like when the Lions played Seattle this year, I was obviously pissed that Seattle lost. But Amon Ra, he's just a different breed. He's so fun to watch, and it's hard to hate him. He's one of those players you just have to like.
Yeah, and the same thing with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in your backfield. I mean, that's one of the best 1-2 punches for running backs, if not the best in the league. The Eagles obviously have a strong case too. I'm a huge fan of the exciting whites, so it's going to be exciting to see what they do as well. And then out of the AFC, again, I think this could be the Bills year. I think this is finally when they break the cusp. I'd love to see Josh Allen win a ring. As much as a Patriots fan, I really can't like the Bills, but I do like specifically Josh Allen, so I wouldn't mind seeing him win a ring. And if it's a Lions-Bills Super Bowl, give me the Lions, and I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs as my MVP. But I think that's it. I think that'll do it for the first edition of the Benders Podcast 2.0. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're new here, subscribe to this channel, and eventually, if this gains more traction, we'll associate an official Benders Podcast YouTube channel. Like, comment, share this with your friends, subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you all so much for watching. Nikki and Zach, thanks for doing this, and we'll see you in the next one.